Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Elevate Your Soul podcast. Today, I am interviewing speaker, coach, and hypnotist, and a really cool friend of mine, Nicholas Spohn, on one of the main key factors to creating radical change and living a more fulfilling life. He explains step by step how you can change your entire life once you change the way you think about yourself and change the way you see yourself. You can find Nicholas on Instagram at Spawn Trained or check out his website. Those links will be in the show notes. And if you have a moment in time, it would really mean a lot to me if you could leave me a 5-star rating and write a little review on the side. It just really helps get this podcast out there and helps get this information out there. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please do share it forward, take a screenshot, or copy and paste the link to your friends or family members or whoever you think could benefit from this podcast episode. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, Nicholas. Welcome to the Elevate Your Soul podcast.
Thanks for having me back. Good to see you again.
Yay. Can I ask you again, what elevates your soul?
Just just learning and growing. I'm just like every day I'm uncovering something, learning about myself, shedding layers, and just finding more peace.
Yeah. Every time I catch up with you, you're like, I'm learning about this, and then I'm learning about this.
I know. I just get obsessed, and I just love learning. And
I love it. I love it. I'm like you, like my Friday night and Saturday night, if I'm home, people are like, what do you do? Because I don't watch movies and I don't watch TV series.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, what do you watch? And I'm literally in my bed watching like TED Talks and like inspirational videos or like blogs, and like just I'm always just wanting to learn and absorb information.
Yeah, me too. We'll kind of go over this a little bit today, but I'm also hitting a point where I'm like, all the information I need it's all inside me
It's
already.
all inside you, yeah.
And so and we'll talk about this process, but it's setting an intention and then feeling it, and then the information just comes to you.
Definitely. Yeah, I've had a talk recently on one of my podcasts about that too. Like people can basically rephrase a whole, like so many different quotes and like all these inspirational like talks, but they don't incorporate any of it into their actual life, their daily life, and they're not actually embodying it. They're just like walking around repeating what they hear. But before we dive into this, can you just tell us and the listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do so people know who I'm interviewing?
Yeah, so my job is I'm actually a real estate investor, and I don't even think we've talked about it that much. So I buy houses and buy and sell houses and duplexes and fourplexes and stuff. And then I got into, because I wanted to grow my business, I knew that I was the limit for that, right? So I got into personal development, started going to, well, I guess one of the most impactful books I read early on was Psycho-Cybernetics, which we're going to talk about a lot today.
All right.
And then I got into Tony Robbins, and then I studied hypnosis and NLP and Reiki and pranic healing and all kinds of, like, every modality you can think of. And so I do some coaching, I do some international speaking, and last time I think I was on, we talked about influence. And so today we're going to talk about a little bit different subject, is, how to program the subconscious mind, and really a concept called the self-image, which ties in all personal development aspects into one kind of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. And I remember when you told me about this topic, you said it can help create more success in people's lives and overall happiness. And first, I would just love to ask you, what does success mean to you?
It's different for everybody, right? For me, it's growth. It's fulfilled emotions, like emotional variety. Just enjoying the highs and lows of life. It's finding, I think, just presence. Like, success isn't being present. Otherwise, that idea of success, if it stays off in the distance and you never learn how to feel it right now, you never have success. No matter how, quote unquote, successful you appear, you never have it. So it's just that present, finding joy and love in the moment is really the only way, like the only kind of success there is.
Interesting. I would probably agree with you. I would just word it differently. To me, success is just joy, like everyday
Yeah.
joy and happiness. Because so many people wake up and they're not happy. They wake up and they are anxious or they're worried or stressed about the next thing that they need to do that morning or that afternoon, or we're just living day to day, like not really enjoying our lifestyle, or people who like
Yep.
live for the weekend. So success to me is like just living a lifestyle that you can like look at and be like, yeah, I fucking love my life. I fucking love my
Yeah,
lifestyle. Like that
for
is
sure.
success. Yeah.
But success, it's just a feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's all it is. And people are after like, oh, when I have a car, I'll be successful. And they
Uh-huh.
get the car and they might have that feeling for a day, but they
Or a week.
never like but they never have the intention, and like they never go in and like just to cultivate from within that
Mm.
successful feeling, because you can have that at any time.
Yeah. So true. So true. Awesome. So what can help us get there?
All right, well, let's dive into it. So I talked about this book, Psycho Cybernetics, which if you haven't read it yet, I recommend it all the time. You probably see me posting about it on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I read this early on, and he talked about the self-image. Man cannot accomplish more than his image of himself. And I'm on a big Neville Goddard kick, and Neville Goddard says that man creates himself out of his own imagination. And so what we imagine ourselves to be, our subconscious mind goes out and confirms that in every single interaction, every single performance, everything we attract to us, how we show up in the world.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, most of us go out and we try to do personal development and we try to learn a bunch of stuff, but we keep that in our conscious mind, and we never use it to change the image of ourselves. And so all success, all the ability to perform, it all comes from our subconscious image, right? And so I was an athlete, and for years, like looking back on my career, knowing what I know now, all of my success was because I imagined myself succeeding in that way. I believed I was the type of person that could succeed at this level. And
Yeah.
then when I got to the next level, even if I had the skills and I didn't have the image of being that type of person, I would find a way to lose or get hurt or get nervous and just not perform the way that I thought I should. And so every day we go into sales meetings, we go into to speak, and our capabilities are, our subconscious mind is so brilliant that it can do anything, but it only gives us the skills to match our level of self-image.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you thought you'd be really good at real estate.
Well, yeah. So like in the beginning, I was like, I want to buy one house, and I adjusted my self-image to that. And then
Right.
after a while, I wanted to quit my job. So I started going through the process we're going to talk about today. And I would visualize being the type of person that had, so much units, so much income, drove this type of truck. And I visualized that, and I stayed focused on that long enough to get that idea into my subconscious. And then bam, I created it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I went through highs and lows. And then as soon as I remembered this is the process, is to change the self-image, I started doing that again last year, and bought a couple $1,000,000 worth of real estate with almost no money down, built a really amazing system. I got 12 units under contract right now. And it's not to say that has anything to do with me. It's just me getting an image from my conscious mind into my subconscious. And we all have this subconscious that tells us what to do. It gives us the urges, right? Like it gives us the motivation when it's got the right program. But most of us have the wrong program to achieve our conscious goals.
Right. Right. So it sounds a little bit like the law of attraction to me, right?
Yep.
There's kind of a correlation, but you're coming from more of the way you see yourself. So it's really similar, but law of attraction, it's more like I want the house or I want that car and I want to try to manifest it or attract it into
Right.
my life. And you're kind of more like the way you see yourself being successful, whatever that looks like to you, you have to see yourself as already being successful now in order to become that person or be that person.
Yeah. So most of us want to get the girlfriend or get the car or whatever. And we don't ever most people don't ever set about to be the type of person that would attract that. Right.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
it's about
Yeah.
having the self-image of having the identity of being a great real estate investor. It's not about having 50 units or 100 units. It's about being the type of person that does deals, that is abundant, that attracts things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so when we change that, go into the visualization, not just like I own this, but I'm the type of person that can
Mm.
own this. I'm the type of person that can build this, that can do this, that feels this way. And when you start doing that, the way you show up in the world is totally different.
Can you give us an example of how that would work?
All right, I'll give you an example. So speaking, a few years ago when I still had like a regular job, I had to give a presentation to a couple plant managers, the VP of operations, my boss, like, and I got nervous and I totally failed. Like I totally stumbled over my words. Like that fear of public speaking that people are afraid of, like that's what I experienced. And it was
Yeah,
the most embarrassing moment of my life.
I know.
And then
I know the feeling.
have you done that? Yeah. Like,
Yeah, I hate it.
oh my God, I was like, oh, I just felt sick. And so I was like, all right, well, I gotta overcome this. And every time I thought about speaking, I would like want to puke.
Yes.
So I had a self-image as the type of person who was not a good public speaker. So
Right. You had stage fright. You were the person with stage fright.
yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not me, but I feel it. So what I had to do, it
Okay.
was such a great learning experience. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Toastmasters. I'm going to become a great speaker. But I started visualizing myself speaking, right? I would sit back and watch it like I'm a spectator and see myself with great posture, great body language, great enthusiasm. And I would visualize it and I would watch and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I would step into that body and I would feel what it would felt like. And I would hear people around me like, wow, that was an amazing speech. I would hear them tell me what a great job. The look in their eyes, they were captivated. And I did that over and over with emotion. The emotion, right? The feeling takes it from the conscious to the subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started taking action and actually speaking as well. And before long, I'm like incredibly comfortable. I got asked, to speak at events in Mexico and in Canada and with some of the world's best hypnotists. And I've gotten, to be guests on podcasts all the time. And I
Nice.
spoke last year for 3 hours to a college class, like, and because I'm now the type of person that's a great speaker.
Yeah.
Like that's my identity. And so that's how you change the process.
Because you see yourself as a good speaker. So you had that moment, you had that hiccup where you're like, oh, I'm the person with stage fright because I had this one experience and it was
Mhm.
so like traumatizing almost for you and so uncomfortable. It was almost like a defense mechanism. So like, so that I don't have to put myself in that place again and be ostracized because I was embarrassed. Then,
Yes.
yeah, then you're like, I have stage fright, so I'm not going to do this. And then you had to tell yourself and like convince yourself, no, you are a speaker. You can speak on stage. You're comfortable doing it. People love hearing you speak. And then that helped you build the courage to do that again.
Yeah, but the knowing of that, like the knowing that I have the ability to speak is different than having the feeling of being a good speaker, right?
Okay.
And so we have to go into our minds, like with our body totally relaxed, and we have to visualize it and experience it because we learn from experience. We don't learn from information.
Yeah.
Like we all have information in our brain that has
Right.
nothing to do with where real life looks.
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it's available to us when we change the self-image. All right. So to go in like in a hypnotic state, right? I do a lot of hypnosis, but you don't necessarily need hypnosis. Just relax the body, relax the breath, make that image so clear in your mind of what you want to be and see yourself doing it. Hear your friends or your family or your audience like saying, wow, that was amazing. You did an amazing job at this. Feel what it feels like to be grateful, to be present in that situation, like embodying what it would be like. And it's in your imagination. So it doesn't have to be real. Like you don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. Your subconscious takes care of all of that.
Right.
And so when you start to do that, you'll attract, like I'm doing more deals now, not because I'm any smarter, but just because I'm the type of person that does deals now. Like I've visualized it and
Yeah.
not just writing goals on paper, right? Like not just having a vision board, but stepping in and visualizing like I'm cashing checks, I'm signing documents, I'm on the phone in my imagination before I ever do it in real life. And then when I get on the phone, it's like instant automatic. I have no internal tension. I have no neediness because that's what drives people and things away is that attachment to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask how long ago you read this book?
All right. So I read it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I read it once and it was so good. I read it again right
Mhm.
away. And then what I did, it was what we often do, is we take a simple concept, right? Just put an image into your subconscious goes after it. That's the simple concept. And I complicated it, right? I started learning body language and hypnosis and I traveled the world and learned all these different concepts. And then last year I was like, wait a second, like all of this just ties in to this one concept. And I'm like, at the beginning of last year, I still wasn't creating the lifestyle that I wanted. Like I knew I had all the capabilities. I knew like everything was right where it needed to be. And I was like, I still haven't changed my self-image. And so once I went back to working on that, like things just started clicking.
Wow. Wow. And how long ago was that when you recently adopted that?
Yeah, through Q3, Q4 of last year until now,
Yeah.
really getting focused back into that and really even like just this year going back to the practice of visualizing every single day.
Every day. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
experiencing what your life is like, once you've made it.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me so much, yeah, of manifestation as well, like law of attraction and then
Yeah.
manifestation. I have a podcast that I created. I swear I made up this term. I swear I never heard it from anywhere, but I called it intentional dreaming, and I like made it up while I was traveling solo once. And I always do it when I'm in a very like powerful yet peaceful environment, like in the forest or floating in the ocean. And I close my eyes and I dream of some time in the future, and I never put a timeline on it, whether it's like a year away or 5 years or 10 years away.
Mm-hmm.
And the images will just come to me. It's never like in my head where I'm like, ooh, this is what I want and I'm going to visualize it. I will just start closing my eyes while I'm floating in the ocean, and I'll just get a vision of just like the randomest thing. Like the one that I can think of that's coming to mind right now is I imagine myself in my early 20s, swimming in a swimming pool in the tropics, like somewhere by the equator, and having like professional nails done and like a really nice bikini and like long hair, and just like swimming in this pool by myself and just feeling like totally abundant and amazing. And then when I was 25, that happened. And then it like hit me. I was like in Singapore swimming in this like beautiful pool on Sentosa Island. And I had like the sparkly nails and like my hair was really long. And I was like, huh, like that's pretty cool. And at the time when I had the vision of that too, I had short hair. So it was like all perfectly like timed and stuff. And then I kind of remembered later, like it must have been 3 years later when it happened. So I have a lot of those in my life. And it reminds me of what you're saying too, although I've never read this book, like kind of just having this inner knowing of who you really are. And yeah, and then the potential of who you are, like what kind of lifestyle or life events that can bring you in the future. And then yeah, just visioning that. And it's so beautiful too, isn't it? Like it's so fun.
It's amazing. And so like this is all right. So all these different concepts tie into this one simple thing. So even like procrastination, we procrastinate because we have an idea of what we want in our conscious mind, but our unconscious mind has a different idea of what we are. Right. So I'm this millionaire, playboy, whatever. And like, I'm going to work really hard and make it happen. But your unconscious mind goes, no, you're not. We're going to drain your energy and make sure like you're not that, because we don't have that image in our mind of what you are.
Right.
And so we have this like, and I think that's what leads to a lot of unhappiness is we want to have this, we want to accomplish this. Like I want to be a great athlete, but my subconscious mind goes, well, you're a mediocre athlete, right? I haven't gotten that through to the subconscious. And so it will, like when I show up to compete, I'm not going to compete my best because we're not aligned. And so when you take the time and you line that up, you stop procrastinating, because the procrastination just comes from that being out of alignment with your conscious and subconscious. Go ahead.
Do you think that has to do with like someone's health or weight loss, for example, like people who struggle to lose weight for years and they've been overweight for years and they keep trying and they keep going on different diets and things? Do you think it's just their belief that they aren't like a fit, healthy person, and they kind of believe that they're the person who's sick, or they're the person who's lazy, or they're the person who can't go to the gym, like that belief of their self-image?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we try to use willpower, right? Well, willpower comes from the conscious mind, and it's so much weaker than the subconscious. Like the subconscious gives you the energy, gives you the desires. That's what our intuition is. It's like when the subconscious has an image of what it wants to accomplish, then we start to get intuitions like, hey, I should call this person. Hey, I should go to the gym now. Hey, I should eat this or not eat this. That's when the subconscious is on board. Otherwise, like our conscious mind is like, oh, I got to go to the gym at 5:30. I got to force it. I got to force myself not to eat. And then we just snap, right?
Yeah.
So you can't consciously do this. You can't consciously lose weight. You can't consciously even pick up a pen. Like for me to move my fingers to pick up a pen, my conscious mind sends a signal to my unconscious and it does that. Like there's too many motions involved with my fingers and my muscles and my coordination to even be able to pick up a pen consciously.
Right.
And so we got to rely on the subconscious. And then when we do that, we get that image into it of what we want to be. Like we tap into that intuition. Most of us don't have good connection to our intuition because we don't have a clear image in our subconscious. Or we try to consciously override. We try to be smarter than our subconscious, which is the most brilliant supercomputer that has ever been invented. And we're like, no, I got to do it this way. But the subconscious gives us urges like, hey, don't do it that way. Like that's stupid. So we got to listen to those internal drives. And that's the intuition.
So when you're saying the words like subconscious mind, you're kind of meaning intuition. And that's usually when like life tends to like just flow, right? With like ease and everything just like kind of flows and there's like less stress and worry. Whereas when we use our conscious mind to like live our lifestyle, everything like feels like you need to like control more and like, like it's just more of a struggle. And I get what you're saying.
So it's again from that alignment of the conscious and the subconscious. So once your subconscious gets the image of you, of your lifestyle, of what you want to create, that your conscious mind holds, once those are the same, then you just get to go, all right, like it's done, it's in process. My subconscious is going to make it happen. Consciously, I can't really do anything at all except for keep putting that image in there. Right. So like, let it go, stop worrying and be present.
Let the universe take care of it. Yeah.
Yes, you have to, once you start to trust the subconscious, you release detachment, you release that like hustle, grind, like all that BS, right? There's no willpower involved. It's like, I wonder what's going to flow to me today. I wonder what I'm going to have the urge to do today to create that thing that's already been created.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And I'm also not a huge fan of like the pitta fire energy. Yeah. Like hustle, work hard. Like that's the only way you'll succeed. And like when I'm at the gym too, like, I do group fitness classes and all the time they're like mind over body. I'm like, what about the heart? What about the intuition?
So you know what, like there's times when I'll get that like, let's go, like hustle grind, but like it's a fun, like you just get into it, you know, and you're going, there's no like, oh, I got to force myself to do this.
It's when the consciousness splits, right? I've heard that through Teal Swan's teaching, how like there's so many splits in our conscious and we have different parts of ourselves. Like a part of us wants to go to the gym. A part of us wants to stay at home and eat a bag of chips and watch Netflix. And a part of us wants to date this person. And another part of us finds that person super annoying. Like it's like this split within our conscious. And I think it's about like finding that balance between the two and the relationship between the two, because life's all about relationships and how we relate to everything. So that relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Yeah. And I think like life becomes a real struggle and really confusing and really hard when your subconscious and your conscious are believing two different things. You're like, well, I want to be healthy and fit and I want to lose the weight. And then your other half's like, no, but you are the fat, lazy person who's sick. And you're like, what point?
Yeah.
And so you're like living the life of two different identities.
So we're often like trying to override our childhood programs, our parental programs, our school programs. We get told what we are, we get told what we should be. And we see people around us that make X amount of dollars or that can accomplish this level of success in whatever field. We're like, well, that's the limit. Like that's where I should be. But now once you become an adult and you learn how to do this stuff, you take your goal and you just start putting it in there and you start to override those childhood programs. And like with this stuff, you don't even have to go back and like change the past. You know, like a lot of people are like, you got to go into the trauma and release it. Well, I do some of that. So I'm not going to say that doesn't have its place, but at the same time, like if you just create in your mind this person that you want to be, and you just start living as that person, all that other bullshit just starts to fade away because the universe expands in the direction of our focus, right? So if you go to psychotherapy, you're always going to be focusing on how your mom screwed you up, on how your dad let you down, on why you can't be normal. Like you just talk about that all the time, and nobody ever heals from psychotherapy, right?
Yeah.
So it's until you shift your focus into who you're becoming, and you just imagine that until it's more real than real life, you're not going to create it.
Yeah, I remember I questioned that too. I actually had a podcast on it, and I was like, does it actually matter about going back to the past and figuring out like why you adopted these beliefs or why you are the way you are? And yeah, I was surprised with her answer. She's like, no, none of that matters. Like, why does that matter? Like, what matters is where you're going. But I do feel like there is a place and a time, because I do know for some people, they have that like aha moment and they click and they're like, oh, dad was an alcoholic and he did molest me or whatever. And then they have that moment where they're like, oh, now I understand like this. And now I can see like why I saw myself in such a like poor perception. And now I can change that perception of myself. And some people like almost, I feel like there's a time and a place for that. And some people really need it. And you can use it as a tool to propel yourself forward, but not as like an everyday, like, okay, I'm going to go to psychotherapy, as you said, for like 5 years to figure out why I'm fucked up. Like dive into it, do a workshop on it or something over a long weekend, see how much you can learn from that and going back and the childhood trauma and all that. But yeah, just as you said, I think it's a way of procrastinating as well. When people get like stuck in the I'm doing personal development and they're just like constantly looking in the past and not actually being like, okay, well, what do you actually want? Where do you actually want to go from here?
Yeah, I have friends that do ayahuasca like all the time because they're like, we're doing the healing work. We're going back into the past to heal trauma. And I'm like, well, the more you go back there, the more you're going to find. Like, you find what you're looking for. Your subconscious might even be making shit up because you're still looking for trauma. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
Decide what you want and focus your attention on that. And if something comes up you need to release, then deal with it then.
Yeah. And then release it. Like, yeah. Don't analyze it.
yeah. Absolutely. What else? Oh, okay. So this might be a good little insight here. So Neville Goddard was talking in one of, I don't even know, I was reading one of his books. So the process of creation is, the conscious mind is the masculine aspect of creation. All right. So the masculine is decisive. It's structured. It's a leader.
It's
so
weaker.
Hold on. Yep, I'm getting there. So the conscious mind decides what to focus on, what you want to create, what you want to be. And then it takes that image, that idea, that feeling, or takes that image, and it implants it impregnates it into the subconscious, the feminine aspect.
Right.
And it does so through feeling. So when we're feeling, that idea comes through from the conscious to the subconscious, right? Repetition and emotion is how we get programmed. So the subconscious, which is like so much more powerful than the conscious mind, is the feminine aspect. And the feminine aspect nurtures that, it grows it, and then it gives birth to it. Right. And we don't know how it's going to give birth to it. That's the great mystery of creation, is there's something beyond us. And then it just starts to show up in our lives, or randomly, like you said, you just find yourself like, wait a second, like I imagine this
here.
Yeah. And so often, like, the conscious mind is like, well, wait a second, like, is this coming? Are we done yet? Like, let me look and make sure that baby's growing. Like, let me see, let me try to do something. And there's nothing you can do except for impregnate the subconscious with the idea. And so that's like the masculine and feminine aspects of creation. And once you realize that, like, great, my idea's in the subconscious, like, there's nothing I need to do. Like, if I get the urge and desire to do something, I'm going to do it because that's my subconscious speaking to me. Otherwise, like, I don't have to follow this strict routine every day unless that's what my subconscious tells me to do, Right. And then you're really free.
Yeah. So you're like, just let my conscious mind penetrate my subconscious mind.
That's
it really drills it in me and I can give birth to my dreams.
Yeah, that's totally like, it's totally what it is. And Goddard, like, his whole methodology and belief is that he says the Bible is really just a metaphor, explaining to us this process of creation and explaining to us that we're God. Right. And so when Moses went, and got the message from God, and he said, who should I tell the people sent me? God said, well, through the burning bush or whatever the metaphor is, tell them I am sent you. right? I am. And Jesus in the New Testament says, I am the way, the truth, and life. He's not saying I, Jesus, am the way. He's saying I am. Consciousness is the way, right? And then Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. Well, I am is God. I am is consciousness. I think, therefore I am God, right? Like we're all aspects of this divine. And that's how we use our minds to divinely create the masculine aspect, the feminine aspect. And then you just got to surrender and allow it to show up. And that's how change happens. We're all fighting it. We're all like trying to use willpower and grind, and like we're running ourselves into the ground doing it.
I love it. I love it. For those who have listened to this whole podcast this deep and are like, sweet, I kind of get what he's saying, but I'd love one more example so that I can really incorporate what he's trying to say into my own life. Can you give us one more practical example for people who don't quite get it yet?
Yeah. So, and this kind of ties in with what we talked about last time you had me on, the antenna theory.
Yes.
So when that subconscious has that image of what we're creating, it then sends waves out through our body, that's what changes our vibration.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we send those vibrational waves out into the universe and we attract. So here's a little story. When I was at a Tony Robbins event a couple of years ago, and this girl was there who was really insecure, and she was like, Nick, I see you all the time. Like, you're super confident. How are you so confident? And so I started talking to her, and I uncovered she was abandoned by her parents at a young age. They told her they didn't want her. She got married, and her husband cheated on her with her best friend, got her best friend pregnant. And so she's got this I'm not good enough abandonment story, right?
Yeah.
So I hypnotized her, and I had her I said, I want you to think of a time when you felt really loved, when you felt like you were good enough, you were really confident, you felt beautiful. And so she started crying, and I just amplified that emotion within her. And afterwards she was like, that was amazing. Like, I remembered a time when she's a wedding singer. She's like, I was singing at a wedding, and these 3 little girls came up to me and they said, you look so beautiful. Like, we want to take our picture with you. You look like a princess. And she was like, that was one of the only times in my life I ever felt beautiful.
Aww.
She was like, so I feel that in my heart now. It's great. Well, 2 hours later, she grabbed me and she pulled me aside and she starts bawling. She's crying. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, did I not seal something up? Like, I knocked the seal loose. And she was like, 20 minutes after you hypnotized me, this little girl came up to me and said, you look beautiful. I want to be friends with you.
Aww.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, I started crying. She's crying.
Yeah.
And so when all I did was I just took that image and she just felt it. And because she felt it, she sends those waves out into the universe and starts to attract.
Yeah. Yeah.
And real estate deals are just energy. Partners are just energy. Health is just energy. And so when you start to feel like you already have that, the universe delivers it to you. That's your creative power. That's the literally it's the law. It can't not happen.
Yeah. It's so true. And a lot of people think as well, they're like, oh, I'm not good at manifesting. I can't manifest, or I'm not good at law of attraction. No, it's not true. It's like you are manifesting all the time, and you are attracting your lifestyle all the time. It's just doesn't look the way you want it to. Because that's the thing. When people are so proud to be like, oh my God, I manifested this car and I manifested this relationship and this house. But as soon as it's something negative, they're like, I didn't manifest it.
Yeah, for sure. So I just meant it's true in that if you believe that, that's what you're going to perceive, right?
Right.
If you believe you're bad at manifesting, that's an identity that's in your subconscious.
Yeah,
you will see that.
Manifest anything good.
Yeah.
Thing, right? Because you can still
once
the mediocre.
Once you believe that you everything in your world is a manifestation of your energy. And you can look at it and be like, wow, I haven't been manifesting what I want. Even that knowing is incredibly freeing. Yeah. Because then you can start to change it. Every person in your life that just drives you crazy, that you just can't stand, that's you. You attract that. The people in my life, I'm blessed to say, I think I do a good job, or I keep good energy, not because I think I'm amazing, but because I look at the people in my life and I'm like, oh my God, I'm blown away by the people I attract. Yeah. I everyone's so amazing. I love them. They're all growth minded.
Well, what does this say about me? I have a question. What does it say about me?
Yeah.
I feel I'm really good at manifesting like epic people overseas, but like it's harder to do it where I'm living.
Oh my God. I have the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm like, I know
I
so many fucking cool people who are like traveling the world in jets and
mhm.
hosting retreats in Hawaii, but none of them live anywhere near me.
I have that exact same thing too.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know. I'm still working on that one.
Yeah.
But the good news is like we're responsible for it, right? Like
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna put that on anybody else. Like it's my responsibility to spend more time or to create them in my environment or to change my environment.
Change my environment. Yeah. That's why I love traveling. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, not to say people in my life in New Zealand aren't amazing. They are as well,
Right.
just putting that out there for the record. Um, but I find it easier. Like, I feel like I have more of a community online of like multiple more people.
Yeah.
And it's just harder to like, I don't have that many in New Zealand. Like, I don't have a huge tribe here, but I feel like
Yeah.
the big tribe that I have is all over the world. But maybe that's just because there's 7 billion people and not all of them live in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like to go over some of the steps. So grab those books, Psycho-Cybernetics, anything by Neville Goddard. And then the process is really to get clear, right? That's the mask on us, but get clear on what you want. And like just journal it, keep clarifying exactly what it looks like. And then through feeling, know what it feels like to be that. Feel that way. That feeling breaks the barrier between the conscious and subconscious and will start to tell the subconscious, hey, this is our new target. This is what we're going to go for. And then like do that and then don't worry. Like if the subconscious has it, there's like literally nothing you can do. Like it's going to give you the urges to do it. So you don't have
I
to
don't
worry. You
think
don't have
you
to like,
worry if you're by the time it actually gets into your subconscious, you don't actually worry. If you're worrying, then that's a sign it's not in your subconscious yet. And that's the
exactly.
hardest step, is getting it into your subconscious. So if someone is like, well, I don't know what it feels like to live on a villa in the middle of the Philippines with my beautiful children, like I don't know how that feels like, but I know it will, well, I'm hoping it will feel amazing. Like how do you get
Yeah.
them to feel that right now in the present moment?
So, all right. If there's something from their past, like an experience they had in the past where they just felt free or connected or loved, like they can go back and relive that in the past and then bring that emotion into the future.
Okay.
Or like they just go live on that island in their mind, like be under the palm trees, feel the sun on their skin, like hear their kids playing in the background, hear the waves, like smell. I'll bring out all the senses, like touch the sand in your imagination,
Mm-hmm.
and then you will have that experience and you'll have the feelings that go with it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point to make. Like,
And
imagine
another
the
thing,
detail of all of it, right? Like the smells,
yeah,
the sounds.
absolutely.
Take yourself there. Yeah.
Even if like let's say you want to be a boxer, I don't know where that came from. Let's say you want to be a boxer and you're like you've never won. You're like, let's say you've had 5 losses as a boxer. You've never had success. Well, what you can do is pick your favorite boxer, see them, and step into their body and pretend to be them.
Mm.
Right? Like go into a fight and just knock somebody out, and you'll feel that power, right? And just pretend you're somebody else for a minute and just feel the experience of it. And you do that enough, and that emotion will start to tell your subconscious, like, here's the feeling. We know what it feels like now to be successful. Now we'll visualize ourselves doing it.
Yeah, I feel like what helps as well is like if you're wanting that home on an island, like actually look at, there's so much available online, like look on YouTube.
Yeah,
There's like
absolutely.
so many videos of that stuff. Or if you want to be, yeah, an athlete, like watch athletes or whatever. Yeah, I could never be a fighter. I'm like way too empathetic, but I'd be like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Be like, can I get you an ice pack? But
Yeah.
yeah, like watch the videos or like see people who've already done it, like be inspired by people who are living a similar lifestyle to what you want.
So that gives you inspiration, but it's not quite enough until you experience it by
Of
living it in
course,
your
of course.
imagination, right? Like people have vision
But I mean, like
boards and
constantly feeding
they're
yourself,
great.
like if before
Yeah.
you go to bed every night, you're watching videos of people living in the Philippines in villas with kids running all
Yeah.
around, like it's gonna like, I think it will help plant the subconscious mind, or it'll work
Absolutely.
with the law of attraction, and you'll start meeting Filipino people. You'll start
Yeah.
seeing deals on flights or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the key, I think, to everything, to being successful in any areas, to get that image into your subconscious.
And actually like taking time to do it, right? Because people are like, oh, I'm so busy, like I don't have time to do anything. It's like you have to be dedicated to take 10-20 minutes out of your day, even just 10 minutes a day, to be like, I'm going to focus on what I want, or the self-image of who I want to become every single day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And
the discipline.
I know you do hypnosis, so I know it's like for you, it's very powerful to probably do this work while you're under hypnosis. But is there a certain time of the day? Like I hear our brain waves are different, like first thing in the morning before we go to bed, and like that's a really powerful time to like
Yep.
focus on meditation or focus on what you want.
Yeah. So when we wake up and we go to sleep, they're called the hypnopompic and hypnagogic states. So we're closer to that theta brainwave state. So
Yeah.
those can be really powerful times to do it.
Mhm.
I can go to trance, like you do it enough. I can do it at any time. And
That's so cool.
but I do it before going to bed. I just step into the senses of it, and I just live it, and I feel it, and yeah, it's
That's
great.
so cool. That's why you're always happy.
Well, I've conditioned myself to show up to when I speak to be like in a charismatic and amplified state.
Mm.
So I'm definitely not always happy, but I'm finding more of it every day. Yeah.
But you're finding more of it every day. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a pretty happy person overall too. And I can
Yeah.
say that because I used to not be. So
Yeah.
I have the contrast.
Yeah. I can tell that.
Yeah. Awesome. How can people find you online?
Spohntrain.com, SPOHN. Spohntrain.com is my website, and I'm actually coming out with a course. I'm working on a new program on taking people through this process to create their dream life. So if they sign up for my newsletter, they'll get information about that when it comes out. I'm on all social media platforms under Spohn Trained, the Spohn Trained Personal Development Podcast. It's on my website too, and then I got a couple episodes on your podcast now.
Yay. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. I
Yeah,
love
my pleasure, of
your
course.
energy. I love your vibe. I love your positivity.
Yeah, it's a topic I'm definitely passionate about. That's for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hey YouTube fam, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button below. And if you think a friend, a family member, or just someone you know who could benefit from this podcast episode, please share this video with them. And if you've been enjoying the Elevate Your Soul podcast, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for new episodes weekly. Thank you.